Each time I thought, excuse me, I already messed up.
You're good.
Each time was forever, I thought. I've been married and divorced 4 times. It's not easy to say that out loud. Each of those marriages was like a chapter in a book I never planned to write. Each one filled with its own pain, its own lesson, and each one bringing me closer to a truth I wish I'd found sooner. My first marriage was to the father of my 2 children. We lived in Illinois, and I remember thinking back then that I'd found the person who would protect me. But he wasn't a protector at all. Instead, he became the very person I needed protection from. For years, I endured his emotional and physical abuse. He broke me down piece by piece until I barely knew who I was anymore. I was a mother, yes, but I was also trapped, scared, ashamed of the woman I saw in the mirror every day. Still, I hung on, thinking maybe things would change. Maybe if I stayed, it would get better, but it didn't. One day, after years of that pain, I reached my breaking point. I finally found the strength to file for divorce and left Illinois behind. I packed my life, I took my kids, and I went back home to Las Vegas. I hoped the distance would ease the memories, ease the fear, and give me a fresh start. I wanted to believe that I could leave all that pain behind, but that's not how it works. The scars stayed with me even after I left. Eventually, I met my second husband. He was everything my first husband wasn't. He was charming, affectionate, good-looking, and attentive. I thought, this is it. This is what love's supposed to feel like. But that happiness was short-lived. It turned out he was cheating on me. He was having unprotected sex with anyone he could find. My world came crashing down again, but this time I felt like I was to blame for not seeing it coming. I lost myself. And in the haze of that heartbreak, I turned to drugs to numb my pain. It was easier for me to be high than to feel the weight of another broken marriage. But of course, drugs didn't fix anything. They only buried the hurt deeper. In the midst of that, I reconnected with a childhood friend. He knew everything about me. He knew about my past, my pain, and he promised to be different. I wanted to believe him. We fell in love, or at least I thought we did. The truth is, we jumped into a marriage before we even knew what we were doing. We started out just partying together, using drugs for fun, but it didn't take long for that to spiral into something darker. Recreational use turned into a daily habit, a necessity. To keep up, I started selling drugs, doing whatever I could to keep us both high. He quit his job. He spent his days watching me, keeping me isolated, coming between me and everything I cared about. We moved to Arizona, leaving my kids and my entire life in Nevada. I became homeless, lost in my addiction, shooting up, trapped in a nightmare I couldn't escape. Then one day he just left. No goodbye, no warning, he was gone. I was alone, homeless, stranded in Arizona, facing another divorce and feeling emptier than ever. It was during that lowest point, alone and drowning in my addiction, I met my 4th husband. To be honest, I don't even know if it was ever love. We were both addicts, both lost, both needing something we thought the other one had. I had drugs and he had a roof over his head, so we joined forces out of necessity more than anything. But things quickly spiraled out of control. The house we were staying in got raided by the police. I ended up in prison serving a 5-year sentence. For a long time, I thought my life was over. I thought I had hit rock bottom before, but this time it felt like the end. As much as it seemed like a death sentence, prison became a turning point. I was forced to confront everything I had run from, forced to be clean, forced to face myself without the drugs to shield me. For the first time in my life, I started to reconnect with God. I always believed in God, but I never really knew him. In prison, I had time. I had time to read, time to reflect, and time to learn the Bible, and to understand what faith actually meant. I began to pray for strength, not only for my sobriety, but for a chance to rebuild a relationship with my children. While attending the St. Peter's Church services in prison, Deacon Gay walked into my life. I found out about the Bridges Reentry Program and the Magdalene House. She put me in contact with Dorothy, and I applied to be a part of the program upon my release. It was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life, and that says a lot. I'm 38 years old. They taught me how to take control of my life in a responsible way through love and guidance. I wish there were more programs like this one for the women still struggling in situations similar to the ones I went through. Sorry. After I was released, I felt like a different person. The past didn't disappear and the scars were still there, but I finally knew I didn't have to live under the weight of it anymore. I had been broken by each one of those men for years, and I thought I needed a man to be whole again. But I now know that I don't need a man to define me. I need my faith, my sobriety, my children, and the peace that comes with being true to myself.
Amen.
Thank you. Every marriage taught me something. Each one broke me in its own way, but from that brokenness, I built something new. I found God when I lost everything, and I found myself. I'm the woman I've forgotten I could be. I may have been married 4 times and divorced 4 times, but I'm not giving up on myself now, and I'm dedicated to living a life of sobriety and a life filled with faith, a life where I can finally be the mother my children deserve. And I know now that the only foundation I need is the one I have with God and the one with my children, and that's enough.